All right, YouTube, this is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit, back with another video on this Inauguration Day. Well, we all noticed that the room was without all the protesters who said they weren't coming. They didn't come. So that's a story all in itself. But it's something more sinister going on, even than watching the snubs at the inauguration. Did y'all see the people that Joe Biden is pardoning on his way out the door? His last acts before he leaves office, he's issuing blanket pardons for years of behavior or years of possible criminality. And he's pardoning people who ain't even been accused of nothing. He even has given Fauci, Dr. Fauci, a blanket pardon. Now, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but you don't think that sounds suspicious? If you didn't do anything, why would you be so desperate for a pardon? And why would you need such a lengthy pardon for things you haven't even been accused of yet? That's one of the things that Joe Biden is doing on his way out the door. His presidency, it had to be one of the most suspicious and un-American type of behavior that you ever seen in history. The ties to the wars and stuff overseas, all are going back on his word. We talking even going all the way back to the crime bills and things like that. Joe Biden been something else. But I want you to watch and see these people he pardoned and put on your thinking caps and tell me what you think. I'm doing a reaction to my man over at A Righteous Perspective. Wise. It's for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for commentary and educational purposes. Check this out.
Sir, on pardons, have you ruled out a pardon for yourself or any other additional members of the family?
For myself?
Yes, sir.
What would I pardon myself for?
That's what I'm asking.
No, I have no contemplation of pardoning myself for anything. I didn't do anything wrong.
Mr. President, would you comment on Meta's decision to...
So Joe Biden, in his last despicable act as president, pardoned his entire family. His entire family. What utter bullshit. Joe Biden is, was, and always will be a lowlife and a criminal.
With one mantra, no one is above the law. That's what they told us. No one is above the law. But in the final moments of his presidency, Biden's actions betrayed his words. In the last 15 minutes, a flurry of controversial pardons went out the door. General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, members of the Biden family, and even the likes of Liz Cheney. These aren't just political figures. These are architects of division, the enforcers of failed policies, and in many cases, the ones who have used their power to push agendas that hurt everyday Americans like you and me. Why would they need pardons if they've done nothing wrong? The answer is simple. They know what they've done. And by granting clemency, Biden has tacitly admitted their guilt, shielding them from accountability, covering up their actions, and spitting in the faces of every American who demanded the truth. Now let's break this down. General Milley, the man who admitted that he would warn China of a potential U.S. military action. Or Dr. Fauci, the so-called expert who gave us endless lockdowns, shifting narratives, and questionable funding for dangerous research. Members of the Biden family who they faced years of corruption allegations, and Liz Cheney, who weaponized her position to divide the conservative movement, who also, played a diabolical role in the J6 prosecution, also allegedly coercing witnesses to change their testimony. These are not acts of leadership. These are acts of cowardice, and the pardons prove it. President Trump's first day back in office, it must be clear. It's time to enumerate these folks' crimes. Lay them bare for all to see. The American people deserve transparency, and no amount of last-minute pardons can erase the damage that these people have done. If they believe they escaped justice, they're wrong. We see them for who they are. We see them for what they are. And the fight isn't over. These pardons may shield them from legal repercussions, but they do not clear anything. It doesn't clear their names, and it definitely doesn't clear their names in the eyes of history or towards the American people. We, the people, demand accountability, and we won't stop until justice is served. This administration is going to go down, hands down, as one of the worst administrations, if not the worst administration in U.S. history. Biden's going down as the worst president in U.S. history, and he's definitely the worst president, at least in my lifetime. These past 4 years could not have gone by fast enough. And we dodged a freaking rocket by not allowing Kamala Harris to become the 47th president. I got some clips to share with you guys, man. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Those that pulled up to the live stream earlier today to watch the inauguration, man, I appreciate you guys pulling up and supporting me. Let's get into it. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep it rocking.
It's a Fox News alert. President Biden, this just came across, just issues new pardons for Dr. Anthony Fauci. You could call these preemptive pardons. Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired 4-star General Mark Milley. This just happened moments ago. It also includes the members of Congress and staff who served on the Select Committee and the U.S. Capitol, and D.C. Metropolitan Police officers who testified before the Select Committee. This as Trump prepares to take the oath of office in just a few hours.
Would that include Liz Cheney?
So
What
it's
a mess.
no, it doesn't. I guess, yeah.
Committee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Select Committee.
The whole select.
But what does it say? Mark Milley, who is chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under both Biden and Trump, you know that
100%.
what he's done in the past. You know that he was calling China, trying to putting down President Trump.
I mean, what are they afraid that Pete Hegseth is gonna?
And I want you guys to also remember, think about how many spies they caught this year. Think about how many actual spies they've caught in this country dealing with China and other things that this government was under Biden was incapable of being able to handle.
See, when he goes to the Defense Department and look at the files and data, there's been no talk of going after Anthony Fauci.
Well, Rand Paul is.
There may have been some senators, but the president himself has not said he wants to prosecute
and here's
Anthony Fauci.
absolutely right. And here's the thing: you pardon somebody who's been convicted.
Right.
They haven't been
There's a
convicted.
confession.
They haven't been charged. This is crazy. It will be interesting to read the exact language, and because it just broke, we haven't seen it yet. But remember when Hunter Biden was pardoned by his father, the language was extraordinary because it essentially, we know some things happened during certain time periods, but this was a 10-year window. Anything he did during those 10 years was essentially it was a get out of jail free card. So it'll be interesting to see the language, the parameters of what time we're talking about, and what it talks about, what he has pardoned them from.
His brother wasn't on that list.
It's so ridiculous, man. These pardons, preemptive pardons, or pardons issued for potential future offenses or crimes that have not yet been charged, it's never been done before in the United States of America. And under U.S. law and constitutional tradition, a pardon has always applied to acts already committed, whether or not the charges have been brought. The fact that these people are being pardoned from no charges, they haven't actually been convicted of a crime, they haven't been actually charged with anything. I mean, there are some examples from way back when, where, Gerald Ford, pardoned Richard Nixon back in 1974. He granted Nixon full, free, and absolute pardon for any crimes he committed or may have committed, or taken part in, during his presidency. That did happen. And then during the Civil War or post-Civil War, you had amnesty and pardons for Confederate soldiers, but obviously there was a war that was fought. And then Jimmy Carter, he gave amnesty to Vietnam draft evaders. So Carter basically issued blanket pardons to individuals who had evaded the draft. They had actually committed a crime. So a lot of the, but we've never seen someone be pardoned. One, blanket pardons, 10, 15 years like that. And then two, you hadn't actually been charged with anything. We don't know anything about the crime that you may or may not have committed. And you get pardoned from that. So these people could have committed some really heinous crimes. And hey, you guys can walk away free. It's flat out ridiculous, man. It really is.
Joe Biden counting down the minutes till he leaves office. And we've actually just heard that before leaving, he has preemptively pardoned several people, including Dr. Anthony Fauci and Liz Cheney, to guard against what he called revenge by the incoming Trump administration. Tell us more about that. And has anything like that ever happened before?
Well, virtually never. This is extremely unprecedented for a president to use his constitutional power of forgiveness to preemptively protect those who might be targeted by what he sees as politically motivated revenge. Now, what are we talking about here? We are talking about three prominent figures who have become prominent in their opposition to Donald Trump. Not always very staunch opposition, some staunch, some not so. There's Mark Milley, who's the former joint chairman of the Chiefs of Staff, highest military, civil service military figure in the U.S. You also have Liz Cheney, who has basically become the pariah of the Republican Party for her very prominent and outspoken role in becoming the Trump critic within her party. Very few people have been as audacious, as some would say courageous, as she has. And you finally have Anthony Fauci, the scientist, the coronavirus pandemic advisor to Donald Trump, partially to Joe Biden. All of these people have marked themselves in Trump's bad book as potential, if not enemies of the people, at least enemies to him. People that he has vowed to his base to go after, to target.
Listen, they adding that on because he ain't never made no direct threats and said he was going to come for them. Or you would have that on tape. You would have that moment. They are preemptively getting out the way of a potential threat. We see that. Let's look at some more what they're saying.
For prosecution, potential prosecution, more broadly, retribution. What Joe Biden is essentially saying is these are people who, in his view and in the view of his Justice Department, have done absolutely nothing wrong, nothing criminally wrong to justify potential prosecution against them in this new and incoming administration. So what he's doing is presidents are allowed to do it. You take your authority, you basically give these people a protective shield, a shield against the prosecution to come. Will it absolutely work? Maybe not, but it will slow down any potential prosecution that Donald Trump may try to pursue in his first days, weeks, months in August. It's not an ironclad protection. It's not an ironclad shield, but it is something more than symbolic for these people who have been namely and publicly often targeted by Donald Trump, named and shamed by him in very boisterous speeches to his followers, to his base.
People like this guy here who see this as something.
I want to end on that note. Shout out to Wise. Because I wanted to elaborate on the fact that they said they keep saying they ain't did nothing wrong, but they need these emergency pardons on his way out the door. And Fauci, of all people, with all the censorship, think of all the things that's been going on that's being uncovered. That Zuckerberg was being pressured by Biden to censor dissenting voices as it related to the virus. People was losing their platforms and being demonetized. That was going on with social media. While at the same time, these people was possibly doing all kind of crimes while they was waging lawfare. Now they worry. They worry so much now, and they try to fearmonger and scare the masses of people to such a degree that really they paranoid. They just paranoid at this point. So that's all I got for you on that particular topic. Again, pay attention to everything that's going on. It's a lot. You being bombarded with so much information now that you have free media and people can show you what they see. Mainstream media is dead. Legacy media is dead. You can't trust them. You catch them in too many lies. Too many lies. Well, this is Detroit's HPTV. Sounding to you out of Detroit. As always, salute to all patriots. Keep your head on the swivel. Peace.